I'm alive after that till then. The topic I selected has to do with the brain, the human brain, and how is it explained in the modern science and the latest books that are coming out in the brain, and uh, how is it referred to in the Quran? Is there any mention of the brain in the Quran and how it works and things like that? So actually, I went through the whole Quran during these 2 months, and a lot of the other books, and a lot of material was accumulated. So from 50 pages, I tried to reduce it to 17, but maybe today I'm just going to make it even less, very informal, and we can have anybody interested later, a little more detail in answers and questions later on. Oh, my first introduction with the brain actually happened like almost in it was the last year for Mr. Pervez on this earth. So, and there was a book that came out in Pakistan from America, the bicameral mind, the two minds. After that, we didn't see any other books there. I went to Saudi Arabia, and then I saw another book by Covey, a very, very famous writer who became in management very famous. And his book was titled Seven Habits for Effective People, or Seven Effective Habits for, I think, that kind of book. It started to base its theories on the two sides of the two brains, or the two minds. And later on, of course, we got to see many books, and my daughter actually took a research topic in her master's at the Toronto University, and that was also on one of the very famous names in brain science, Professor Antonio Damasio. So she was working on that, and in 1999, I came during my vacations from Saudi Arabia, and I was helping her and reading along things with her. So that was another introduction to everything that the brain has to say. Purely, of course, from the point of view of modernism. Later on, I got interested in so many new books. Here's one book, The Brain. This has just come out 1 year ago, probably. No, in 2010. We landed in Canada in 1994, and in 95, this book hit the market. And of course, billions of copies sold all over the world by a professor, Daniel Goleman. Not a professor, actually, he was probably a report writer or something. And his book was called Emotional Intelligence. This has become pretty common now. Everybody talks about emotional intelligence. This was actually in opposition to what is called the IQ, Intelligent Quotient, which is a very, very famous test that they take of everybody going into universities or studying, and they sort of find out how your brain works. But the IQ has been found to affect only a part of your brain. Only the testing is the other brain has to be ignored in all these SAT and GMAT and all these kind of tests that the students take here. It doesn't refer to the whole brain. This is a book by Covey, which I just mentioned, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It also bases its work on that. Later on, of course, I was interested. There was a theory that the brain is static. I mean, whatever you get and whatever condition the brain is in, it cannot be changed. If you damage one part of your brain, you're probably stuck with it. That's gone forever. But later on, recently people have started saying the brain is plastic, that it has the capacity to change and heal itself. And if something goes wrong, slowly and steadily, of course, there's a lot of pressure on that person's work habits and other things. You can somehow have the brain rewire itself. and it can start doing things which otherwise it will not be possible. So there was a book like Change Your Brain and Change Your Life. This is also very recent by an MD. Surprisingly, 5 of these writers all have Daniel as the first name. That is a Daniel. Goldman is a Daniel, and there's another book. This is Your Brain on Music. Of course, I took that sort of a personal, at the personal level. My daughter's son is very interested in music. He's just like about 4 years old. He was 2 years old. He was, listening to Urdu songs, not understanding them and repeating them and things like this. So I thought, what part of his brain is referring to music? And there's memory is very important in mind and brain. So there's another book here. And then, of course, there were many, many other books. One guy is very, very famous. His name is Fink, and he has a book called The Brain, and how the mind works. That's the title of his book. Of course, he has taken a very secular view, and after all the research, he has proved that the brain is your eye. Your ruh, your soul is all your brain. There is no ruh, there is no soul, nothing like this. So after that, of course, people have been quite disturbed. A lot of these researches are heading the same direction, because those people who don't believe in God or the hereafter, they want to stick everything and prove it from the brain. The latest research that they want to say, the brain is everything. That's it. Once you die, that's the end of the whole scheme. But there are other people who are writing in contradiction, trying to answer them by saying the spiritual brain. There is a part of the brain which is spiritual. There's no mention of the personality or the self or the nafs, etc., how it is related. And here's the book that just came out recently, A Whole New Mind. This is again by somebody called Daniel.
Yep.
This was a very interesting book. Since there is only 15 minutes to talk about everything, so I'm not going to probably present to you the Quranic part of it today, but just we'll talk about and give you an idea of how the brain is actually working, or what is in a very, very let's say simple way. So there will be no discussion of a lot of these minor or detailed things, but we'll just talk about the brain very, very quickly through some drawings here. Okay, let's see. All right. There are 3 pictures here. One on my right. That sort of tells you that here's your brain inside here, but it is actually divided into 3 layers vertically speaking, going from the bottom of the neck here, inside the brain. There is a part called the brain stem. Probably you can read it, which is right here. There's another part. नहीं, there is another part which covers this inside, of course, inside the brain, very small. Just over the brainstem, there is a lot of neurons that form another part of the brain. And then over this, covering the whole thing, is the main human brain. So there are 3 different varieties of the brains that the people talk about, and with a lot of work on evolution, the conclusion was made that the lower part, the brain stem, along with another little area called the cerebellum, this was the brain of the, like say, the dinosaurs. A very small brain compared to the bodies. And all these creeping animals, like the snakes and things like this. So, reptiles is the word usually used for that. So, this is called the reptilian brain. That only the reptiles had all this brain before. not very, it was enough, of course, to work. People can live, I mean, those animals live with that kind of a brain. And then, of course, came a time when the dinosaurs were finished. Probably a movie is going on every day on the television that how the dinosaurs finished. And after that came the era of the mammals. So the mammals developed a little slightly higher brain. They started to make it a little more sharper with a lot of other facilities that they can work with. The lower brain, this part, was actually, it was doing it was helping people to run, to walk, not people, I mean, the animals could run and walk, and they let's say, how you breathe and how your heart is pumping the blood, all those things are a part of that brain. Later on, in the mammalian style, when the mammalian brain was coming up,